comment.
Oh, good. Made my day. Good evening. It is 5:30 p.m. and I now call to order the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education meeting. This is the June 11, 2026 meeting. Notice of this meeting has been advertised in the Grand Island Independent, which is the district's designated method of giving notice of these meetings. We want those in attendance to know that copies of the Open Meetings Act are available at the entrance to the boardroom. If anyone in attendance is interested in addressing our board, you are welcome to do so. We simply request that you complete the appropriate form and turn it in to us so that you may be recognized during the request to address the board part of our meeting. If you have not already completed the form, please see the staff person outside the entrance to this room. Public comment is welcome. We do ask that no signs be brought into the boardroom. Mrs. Dibbert, would you please call the roll?
Mr. McFarland.
Present.
Mr. Hawley.
Here.
Mr. Garcia Mendez and Dr. Mann have given prior notice of their absence. Mrs. Albers.
Here.
Mr. Barsonis.
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas.
Here.
Mrs. Wilson. Here. Mrs. Goodman.
Here.
Okay, the first item on the agenda tonight is the consent agenda. The consent agenda to be approved is as follows. Items number 3.1 through 3.9. This is the consent agenda as published. Would anyone like to remove any items or add any items to the consent agenda? Seeing none, does anyone have a potential conflict of interest on agenda item number 3.3? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second by Ms. Wilson. Discussion? Seeing none, we may proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Okay, special recognition. The item number 4.1, Gish Spring Athlete State Medalist, Mr. Chris Ladwig.
All right, good evening, and school year's over. I feel like we're already, it's August 1st, so I shouldn't say that too loud, because I know there's some people back here that want a little bit more time off, correct? Kind of, so, no, we're excited to be here. We had a great spring season, and I have 4 individuals that we brought here today to talk about. 3 of the 4 are seniors, and so I'm going to kind of talk through their accomplishments over the past 4 years, and then we'll bring them up here and we'll give them their certificates and all that good stuff. So first, I'm going to talk about Nathan Kosmicki. He was our senior boys golfer. We had 3 boys this year that qualified for the state tournament. Nathan tied for 14th this year. At state, he finished 7th at districts, which automatically qualified him for state, and he finished tied for 5th at the conference tournament this year. Over the 2 days, he shot a 75 and a 71 for a total of 146, which put him at 4 over the 2 days, which is pretty good. Traditionally, over the past 5 years, a 4 over will put you roughly 7th through 10th. This year, he was tied for 14th. So our Class A golf competition this year was pretty stout. The winner finished at a -8. And so I'm proud of Nathan and the work that he's done. He's committed himself to the sport. He's committed himself to be an Islander over the last 4 years. And so for that, all of his hard work, it was nice to see him medal this year at state and finishing tied for 14th. So let's give Nathan a round of applause. Our next athlete that we're going to talk about is Michael Obermiller. He is also a senior for us. He is a 3-time state qualifier. The last 2 years for conference, he was silver medalist in 2025 and 2026 in the 100 hurdles, and in the 300 hurdles, he finished 5th in 25 and 26. Like I said, he's been a state qualifier in 24 and 25, in 26 in the 110s. And he was also a state qualifier in the 300s in 24, 25, and then he was also a state qualifier this year in the 400 relay. He ranks 3rd all-time at Grand Island Senior High in the 110 hurdles. He is 9th all-time in the 300 hurdles at Grand Island Senior High, and this year's relay is 6th all-time as a team. And so for that, this year. Obviously, he was a silver medal, or sorry, he finished at state this year. He medaled in 25 and 26. So when he comes up, he'll have those medals with him. So let's give Michael a round of applause as well. Junior Reese Jones, she's a 3-time state meet qualifier. This year, she was a bronze medalist in the long jump. She was a hack champion in the long jump this year. She's 4th in the GISH top 10 in the long jump chart. She's 4th in the GISH top 10 triple jump chart. And she's 8th in the top 10 in the 1,600 meter relay. And so Reese has one more year to shine, and so we're excited for her to be back as an Islander. And so let's give Reese a round of applause. And Celia McCoy is a senior on our track and field team. She's a 4-time state meet qualifier. She's medaled 7 times at state. She's a 3-time state meet Class A gold. She has 3 state meet Class A gold medals. 2 last year, 1 this year. And last year she was the all-class gold medalist in the 100 hurdles. She has 2 Grand Island Senior High varsity records in the 100 hurdles and the 300 hurdles. And she is the Grand Island Independent all-time all-area leader in the 100 and the 300 hurdles. What else? She finished runner-up this year in the 300, and like I said, 100. She was a state final, or won the gold. And so let's give Cecilia a round of applause. So we're going to have them come up, take a picture with Mr. McFarland and Mr. Fisher. And the first one, Nathan Kosmicki and our head boys golf coach, Jimmy Ratch. Would you guys come on up? Mr. Michael Obermiller, come on up. And our hurdles boys coach is Mike Thompson, and our head coach is Monty Fife.
All right. Thank you.
I forgot to add that Nathan is going to go to UNL to study architecture next year. Michael is going to continue his track and field career, and he's going to go run at Northwest Missouri State next year. Reese, you want to come on up with our jumps coach, Coach Jorgensen, and our head coach, her head girls coach, Kip Ramsey.
Okay, here we go. Thank you.
And like I said, her being a junior, she's already signed to come back to Grand Island Senior High next year, so that's a good thing. And our last one, Celia McCoy, come on up. Our girls hurdle coach is Coach Lynn, and Coach Ramsey, come back up.
Thank you.
That's a good sound to hear too, by the way. And Celia is going to the University of Utah next year to continue her track and field career. So we wish all 4 of them the best of luck next year, and Congratulations to all of you. And before you guys run, we'd like to have you come back. All athletes coming up. Let's take one more big picture, please. That was Mr. Roush's request, sorry.
Yeah, if y'all could go up here and take like 3 steps back for me. Thank you so much. Yeah, perfect. All right, smile. I'm gonna take a bunch. All right. I was gonna say, if anyone else wants to get photos, go for it.
All right, congratulations, everyone. Job well done. Okay, item number 4.2, GIPS Skills USA Nationals competitors, Mr. Alex Chemnitz.
Well, good evening. I'm Alex Chemnitz. I'm one of the Skills USA advisors for Rhode Island Senior High School. And we brought a really great crew to Atlanta this year to compete in the national conference. So you guys can stand and you want to come out here, you could. Do you want to stand and come over here? Thank you. Okay, we don't have all of them here. But the ones we do have, so we have Isabel Corona. She took 7th place in career technical educator. Working with her has been really fun because she's so passionate about teaching and being an educator, and I'm like, we want to get her back. We want to get her back. And she did a really good job in her competition. We have Abraham Cardoza and Daniela Cortez. They did additive manufacturing, which is 3D printing. Their competition was like one of, I think, the hardest in the nation. Because you think it's just, oh, it's 3D printing, but they sat for a 3-hour certification exam in their whole week of competition. So it was 3 days of pretty intense stuff for them. Then we have Max Mendez, and his partner is not here, Chances Colburn. They did emergency medical technician, and theirs was also a pretty intense competition. They took 15th in the nation for that one. And we watched them throughout the whole day. They were doing some practical work with some live action scenarios. They were getting people out of vehicles. They were putting people on stretchers. They were getting vital signs, all the things that EMTs would do. And then Abe and Danny, they also got 19th in the nation. So we're proud to be top half in the whole nation. Not here today as well is Jerry Vasquez. He did a CNC lathe programming with Mr. Samuelson, and he took 11th in the nation. So these are all students who are, as we say, going pro in their career, right? So they did a really fantastic job this year, and they're just a great group to go with to Atlanta. They did a great job, and they've been working really, really hard. So, that's our crew here. Let's see. Graduating, we have Abraham and Danny. They're going to UNL for engineering. And then we have Max, who's going to Southeast Community College in Lincoln for respiratory health. And then Jerry Vasquez, who's not here today, is going to CCC in Hastings for CNC machining. So, and then we get Isabel back, which is awesome. So congratulations to these folks here. We'll probably do a picture up here.
Be able to give these to Biz that aren't here.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
All right. Look at me and smile. We're gonna take a bunch. Hold on 1 second. Mr. Chemnitz, you want to get in one? Come on up here. All right. Here we go. One more time. All right. And if anyone else wants to get pictures, you sure can.
right, congratulations to everyone there. Item number 4.3, GIPS Path Back Scholarship Recognition, Dr. Carrie Kohler.
I have the pleasure of presenting two groups this evening. The first one is the Path Back recipients, the scholarship recipients. And I have both of them here with me, and I'll let them talk in just a little bit about what their future will bring. So we are very excited to be, we're almost going on a decade of this, 9 years, I believe, of offering this scholarship. So our two tonight are Adri Behrens and Haley Lewandowski, and they are going to come back and be future teachers for us. And we're very excited. They're graduating from Grand Island Senior High in the education pathway, and we're very excited to have them coming back to us in the future. Would you go ahead and share, Adri, what your future brings? What?
Let me speak. What do I say?
Yeah, right in here.
I'm going to Wayne and I'm studying math education. I'm also going to Wayne and I'm studying elementary education.
One of the really exciting things about that program is these ladies already have a job offer. Congratulations to them. We'll get the right one. You guys can trade if I get them wrong.
All right. Hold it. If anyone else wants to get photos, go for it.
Congratulations, ladies. It'll be wonderful having you on the payroll in the future. Okay. Item number 4.4, GIPS Educator Fellowship Graduates, Dr. Carrie Kohler.
Okay, this next group are current teachers for us, or will be this fall. So I have Ms. Gibson and Ms. Cruz here with me this evening. You want to come on up? And Mrs. Sarah White is the third person who's been in this program, and she's already off at a conference for us right now, so she's on her way back from a conference. So the Educator Fellowship Program through Grand Island Public Schools helps support financially the books, tuition, and the last piece was able to help get certification for both of these ladies here with us this evening. And we have a special education teacher, Lynette Gibson, at Dodge. And then we also have Ruth Cruz's ESL teacher at Westlawn.
Come on up, ladies.
All right. Smile. There we go. All right. Congratulations.
All right, agenda item number 5, request to address the board, which we do not have any this evening. So we'll move on to item number 6.1, authority to open bank account with Equitable Bank. Mr. Matt Fisher.
Mr. Harden was not able to be here tonight. He's out of town for the next few days. So anyhow, filling in for him. This is something that we have done several times in the past few months, and that is to create a new relationship with one of our local banks. And we are looking to do the same thing with Equitable, and just need the board's approval to move ahead with opening accounts at Equitable Bank. Again, we're looking at doing the same sort of thing that we've been doing with some of our other banks, and that would be to having some of our reserves deposited there, and then they are going to work with us to channel some of the proceeds from the interest drawn off of those reserves into our foundation to help support the fellowship program. Any questions about what we're looking to do with Equitable? All right.
All right, thank you. Okay, item number 6.2, musical instruments purchase. Dr. Evan Lay.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. I want to give you a little backstory on how the process of this presentation came about. About a year ago, we met with Virgil and all of the instrumental directors 6 through 12 and discussed concerning needs for expansion of our music inventory, our instrument inventory. Our programs are growing, and they're growing at a pretty fast rate. Just using my example at the high school, the year before I took the position of band director there, the group performed with 160 people in the fall. My first year there, that bumped to 175. Last year, it went to 197, and this year on paper, we have 233. So we're growing at a fast rate, and that is, I give complete thanks to our middle school directors for doing the job that they do with that to promote the love of playing and the love of performing. But then that creates a bit of a quandary in that roughly 75 to 80% of our students in the programs, both orchestra and band, use school instruments. So school provides instruments for them at no cost. We also cover the repairs for those instruments as well. So with that process, throughout this year, I've been working with Virgil to put together a plan to come up with a purchase strategy with getting more instruments based on the needs of what our middle school directors have, and then also based on the needs of what we're seeing at the high school. And that's what you see in front of you with the attachment there. After we established how many instruments we were looking at, and after we examined our inventory, the district-wide inventory for all the instruments, strings and band instruments, we came up with these numbers, and I shared that with Virgil and Gabby, and then they went to work finding vendors, and the vendors came back with bids, and here's what we came up with who we would like to go with for those bids. And that's where it is right now. So, does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Hawley.
Just curious, Dr. Lee, we see that we have, like, for example, what's was that? Alto saxophones from Midwest Musical Imports, 15 of them at 20,000 and another 8 at 17,000. Mm-hmm. Is it coming from different vendors into them, and that's where we're buying from? Is it they having a hard time getting their hands on instruments?
No, that's a great question. One of the things that we also started to examine as a strategy for purchase for future purchases with our program is the needs of level of instrument that we need for the different shelves of students. So, for example, when you're a sixth grader, speaking for myself, I was about this tall, right? And I wore a specific size shoe, right? I'm a little bit taller, and I wear a little bit larger shoe now. And it's kind of I use that scenario, that example as what we experience with instruments. When kids get older, the student line instruments, those beginner instruments, which are built for smaller hands, slower fingers, less air support going through to make a good sound, become more difficult to play as a group with an older, more mature group. So the price that you're seeing, what you're seeing there is you're seeing a shelf of beginner instruments and intermediate. And so we're going to push as we continue through the years. The intent is we want to push intermediate level for high school, so it's more appropriately fitting.
I just learned something new. Thank you.
Certainly.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Lee.
Right, thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay. On to policy now. Item 6.3.1, certified staff grievances. Mr. Matt Fisher.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have a number of policies to go through this evening, so we'll try and move through them fairly rapidly. The first one that we're looking at is 6270, which is certified staff grievances. Dr. Kohler did review this in conjunction with the committee's review, and there were several different places where there were some fairly minor changes, but again, there were changes that really aligned the policy with what our practice has been. And so when we get down here to this second part on level 2, and we're looking at adding this verbiage around the 5-day structure here as far as when the procedure would move forward. And then down here in step 3, there was an area that felt like could be eliminated, and then a step 4 part that would be the 4th step in the grievance process that wasn't previously listed. That again kind of walks through what happens as if a staff member has a grievance. There's a step 1, a step 2, a step 3. And now there would be a step 4 in policy. That's basically what we've been doing, and this aligns with our legal requirements as well. So any questions on that policy and those changes? All right, then let's take a look at 7110, which deals with educational goal setting. And again, setting educational goals and objectives. When the policy committee met and basically I had recommended to them that, again, when you get down to that middle part where the red starts, really what we're listing there are the board goals and objectives, which we have in the board goals and objectives policy already. So rather than having it restated in this policy and then anytime the board made changes in the policy that relates directly to the board, we would have to remember, oh yeah, we need to go back and change that in this policy as well. So again, I think just knowing that it's there, and certainly the board's intent is to have those goals, and then this work that's done through this policy would be reflected in that. And the reality is, and we had this discussion as well, do we really need this policy? No, this would not be a policy we'd be required to have by any means. But I think there's some good ideation that's shared in this policy around the idea that we're going to be working towards specific goals. So in the end, the decision was we probably should keep it, but probably trim it down and make sure it's not a policy that's going to find itself out of sync with other policies sometime later on. Questions here? All right. And let's take a look at multicultural education. Not a whole lot of changes here, other than just, again, some wording changes, again, to align more. This policy, I think, goes back to what was it, 2023 was last revision on this, but there were some changes that took place. And again, it's a little bit shorter, a little less verbiage here, details some specifics in terms of what we're looking at with multicultural education. Really, I would say, if you look at top to bottom, there was no real intent change in any of this. It's just really a matter, and Dr. Levos and Dr. Palmer both reviewed this and felt like this is more in line with stating what the intent of the policy should be. Questions here? Anything you want to dig into deeper there? All right. The school day. Seems like that should be a relatively easy one. We actually spent more time on this one probably than any of the other policies when we were dealing with it. So, in looking at the school day, previously it had stated that we were going to have a 7.5-hour day in all of our buildings. Well, that's not what we've been doing for probably some time. And so really felt like there needed to be a rework of a lot of what this policy said. And the other thing that, really felt like as we went through this, it was important for us to state was that the school day and the staff work day are not necessarily the same. And so really that's what was tried to capture in the restatement of the policy. Number one, that there would be, all of our elementary schools would have the same schedule. All of our middle schools would have the same schedule. The high schools programs would have schedules that fit the uniqueness of each of those programs. And then that the staff day would not necessarily be reflective of, the hours that were scheduled in the different programs in the different buildings. So questions around that one? It's truly just an alignment to what we're doing, but it is a fairly different policy from what we had previously. Okay. Curriculum resource adoption, policy 7320. Not a whole lot of changes here. A little bit of wording change in that segment there, and I think that was just about it. Again, we had people that work with our curriculum resources do a review of this, and they felt like everything that needed to be there was there, and so not really proposing much of anything for changes there. Questions on that one? All right, 7330, dealing with instruction. Again, very minimal changes on this one. I think maybe only just the thes in the Grand Island Public Schools. Anything around that one anyone had a question with? 7340, dealing with assessment. Did have some changes here with this one. Again, Dr. Palmer and Opal Bentley, Dr. Stevens all reviewed this to make sure that it aligned with what we were doing currently with assessment. And you'll see that there were some things that were crossed out there. That last paragraph was crossed out primarily because the state periodically changes their assessment system. And, we're going to follow whatever the state requirements are. So there really isn't a need for us to state specifically what that assessment system is, because then when they change it, our policy doesn't necessarily align. So I think just leaving it out is a better way to go with that. Questions on anything there? All right. Community instructional resources. Not a lot of change here on this one. I think a the is all it is. And again, this was one we talked about, you know, is this something we need to have? No, not really. But I think it does highlight the fact that we are going to try and utilize our community resources wherever we can. And we do a lot. When you think about our internship programs and our apprenticeships and then, you know, the idea of bringing local people in to share with our people, we do use a lot of community instructional resources. So, questions there? All right, religion in the curriculum. That seems like that should be a pretty controversial one, but it's not. There really wasn't anything other than a couple of thes that we needed to have changed on this one to align with what we're doing and you know, what the intent of the policy was. So really nothing changed there. Any questions around that one?
Mr. Hawley.
Looks like you have a couple of schools stricken in a few paragraphs down. It's stricken in black, not red. Is that going to be removed too, just for consistency and alignment of how we write policy?
Yeah, we'll make those red too. I think actually those were struck the last time this policy was reviewed, and it never got any further than the striking in that. And obviously when I went through and reviewed them, I didn't catch it either. So, but yeah, we'll make them red and we'll get rid of them for real this time. All right, student files and records. A little bit of change to this one. Again, more work done just to align with what we're actually doing, and that was simply striking that written notice part, because that is something that we have not done, we are not required to do. So again, putting down things that we're not doing and really don't have to do only creates a potential problem for us. So I think eliminating that is the right thing to do. Questions there? All right.
I got one for you, Matt.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Hawley.
Not on this policy, but can we step back to 7330 instruction?
Okay.
Just a point of clarification. On the policy itself, we're just changing the thes, but it looks like we are striking out 7330.1 lesson plan guidelines, because that is
Yeah, that's right.
somewhere
I
else.
didn't roll down far enough. It's actually there. Yeah, that was part of the discussion we had with the committee, is that lesson plan guidelines are truly a procedural piece that should be in a handbook and not in the policy manual. So yes.
Yep, and we've been doing that on other policies. Just wanted to make sure we had announced that out.
Yep, nope, I just didn't scroll down far enough. Thanks for catching that. Any other questions on these informational policies?
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Okay, next up on the agenda is item 7.1, extra standard. Dr. Carrie Kohler.
I'm happy to answer any questions about the extra standard schedule.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion to approve the extra standard schedule as presented.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion. Seeing none, you may proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Kohler. Item number 7.2, copy print administrative support service agreement with Optimizon. Mr. Corey Gearhart.
Hello, bringing this back for action this month. Virgil had brought this forward for information. Just ask if there's any questions regarding the proposal to enter into an agreement with Optimizon for print management services.
Seeing no questions, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion to direct the superintendent or designee to finalize the terms and conditions of the proposed administrative support services agreement between Optimizon and Grand Island Public Schools, and to enter into an agreement on behalf of the district.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion. Seeing none, I proceed to a vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 7.3, authority to open a bank account with Equitable Bank.
All right, any questions that has come to mind as far as entering into a banking agreement with Equitable?
I'd entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion to authorize the superintendent or his designee the authority to open bank accounts with Equitable Bank to invest cash reserves.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion? Seeing none, may proceed to a vote. Motion passes. 7.4, musical instruments purchase. Dr. Evan Lee.
Any final questions on the purchase for instruments?
Ms. Wilson.
Yes, I have a couple. How did you come up with the numbers for each instrument? Like how many of each instrument that you need?
It was at best an estimate, but it was based on we took our working inventory that we have, and then based it on the number of kids that we had playing those instruments in each of those different groups at the middle schools. From there, we did with Phil Cool, we did a delta analysis, or a delta analysis on it to see what instruments we had and any overages or underages for those particular instruments, and based our estimates on that and for future growth.
And then my other question is, are students taking these instruments home, I assume, to practice?
Yes.
And is there some sort of recourse if something happens with the instrument, it's damaged, whatever?
Right now, the current the current practice is if there's damage or if there's repairs that are needed, the school covers that. Now, with that in mind, if it's a malicious damage, then we'll press the families to reimburse or pay for that. But in most cases, from what I've seen in the last 2 years, we're not really running into any maliciousness. It's more of a wear and tear repair type of situation, or it's an accident that happens sometimes. So.
Okay, and then my last question is, my 2 older kids, well, actually, I guess my 3 older kids, have taken band or orchestra, and we were told that we had to buy or rent an instrument. But that's been a few years. So has that changed, or?
The practice that's been in play for a while here in the district is at the end in the second semester of 5th grade, our middle school directors go down to the middle schools and do a survey of kids. What do you want to play? And then from there, they determine what the instrumentation is going to be, look at our instrumentation that we have, and see if we can make that happen. The kids also make a second and third alternate in case we don't have enough flutes, for example, but they want to maybe play clarinet, they could do that. As far as rentals and purchases, I don't know that that's been pushed a lot at this point. I don't know that Yonda's or Ron's, usually local dealers come in and do a presentation. I don't know that that's happening at this point. But we do, I believe they say if you want to bring your own, absolutely please do, but we are in the practice currently of providing a lot of those instruments, just based on our student body and our demographics.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the low per instrument price from the various responding vendors to be purchased from the general fund poverty funds.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion. Seeing none, you may proceed to a vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 7.5, electronic messaging retention. Mr. Matt Fisher.
Okay. This first one with electronic message retention actually is a total rewrite of this policy. Mr. Gearhart had reviewed this and actually reviewed what our processes were and how they aligned with what the actual requirements for retention of electronic messaging is. And so felt like by the time we got done making changes that would have been needed, it was easier to rewrite the policy. So you'll see the old policy in black here crossed out, and the new policy in red is listed. So any questions around that?
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve policy 4710, electronic messaging retention as presented.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion. Seeing none, you may proceed to a vote. Motion passes.
Okay, the other policy that we have here on final read is 8310, student absences. Not huge amount of changes to this. This was a policy that Dr. Mann had a question about last month, and it dealt with this part of the paragraph 3 right at the beginning. Student absences approved by the principal shall be school excused absences. And his concern was, well, does that leave, principals making different decisions on different situations? And to some extent, yes. Obviously, we would have guidelines that would tell our principals, this is the expectation. But I think one of the things, as we discussed this with the policy committee, that we really felt like that language is probably the appropriate language, because we do know that there are different situations that principals are called upon to make decisions around as to whether those absences would be treated as excused absences. And then if you read further in this, the only difference those excused absences really make is whether they are going to reach the 20 absences that then requires involvement by the county attorney. And there are certainly some situations where we have students who have a very legitimate reason for a long-term absence, and the principal is called upon to say these would be excused absences. Students that have some extreme illness or other family situations that are truly legitimate reasons. This gives the principal the opportunity to make that decision and say, this doesn't go to the county attorney. This is something that the student has no control over, and we're going to excuse those absences. So I think the language that's there is the right language. And then the rest of the changes that were there previously when we discussed this in information. So I guess if there were any questions around that or any other clarification you needed around the question that Dr. Mann had, unfortunately he's not here to, hopefully we answered his question.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve policy 8310, student absences as presented.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion. Seeing none, may proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Reports. 8.1, Grand Island Public Schools Foundation Report. Mrs. Lisa Albers.
The foundation received more than 2,100 nominations for 500 teachers and staff members for the 2026 Teacher of the Year programming, encompassing teacher, staff, and administrator of the year. This year, moving the entire nomination process online allowed us to email all nomination letters to the nominees before the end of the school year. Winners will be announced at the Welcome Back event in August. We are also proud to partner with First National Bank of Omaha, who returns as our program sponsor for the 22nd consecutive year. The Foundation Board will have the following business before them at their June 16th, 2026 meeting: Teacher of the Year winner recommendation, Miller Legacy Scholarship and Grand Island Public School Foundation Professional Development Grant recommendations, 2026 audit engagement, investment policy review. The Foundation Board will be reviewing the 2026 scholarship program statistics, including feedback from reviewers in the annual scholarship and application integrity audit, introduction of the student board representative, Lily Goodwin. The Foundation Board does not plan to hold a meeting in July.
Thank you, Ms. Albers. Any questions? Seeing none, on to 8.2, Superintendent Report. Mr. Fisher.
All right. Well, school's out, so there's not as many things going on, but there's still a number of things that are taking place. Had an opportunity, as did Dr. Kohler and some of the other people in the HR department, to meet with Wayne State and talk a little bit with them about, how they could, do more partnering with us around the fellowship program and as far as dual credit coursework and those different places where we have been utilizing Wayne. And so I had a really good conversation with them. Yeah, sorry about that. Again, I think one of the things that, as I, went through that conversation, one of the things I thought was very encouraging is that they are going to lower their number of credits for non-traditional students from the traditional 120 hours for a baccalaureate degree to 90 hours in some areas, and it sounds like education could be one of the areas. So again, when we think about our really both the path back and the probably not as much with the path back, because again, they're talking about non-traditional, and those would be, but with our fellowship, to be able to get somebody that's already at 60 hours and only have them need 30 more hours to get to where they would be eligible for a bachelor's degree, that's pretty exciting. That's, I think, could open some great opportunities for us. One of the other things we talked about is that they are looking at ways that they can work with schools so that some of the in-service work that our teachers are doing already could be counted for graduate credits. So they're doing a lot of different things that I think are encouraging as far as them in secondary education, post-secondary education, recognizing some of the needs that are out there. And so that was a good conversation. Also, earlier this week, a couple of Mr. Ladwig and Mr. Hubbard and I met with CHI and had some discussion around scoreboard sponsorship is where it all started from. But anyhow, there was maybe some miscommunication in terms of what the scoreboard sponsorship was and looked like, and it's renewal time, and so there was a question about whether they were going to renew or not. So we started with that, but ultimately we talked about the clinic that the CHI has ran since 1999. Didn't realize it had been around that long, but since 1999, the clinic at the high school, CHI has staffed that, and so had a really good conversation around that. We talked about, in phase 2 of our facilities program, we're going to potentially expand the space there, but that might be a few years away. But had a real good conversation with them, and so that was good. Yesterday, I met with the director at ESU 10. One of the things our district leadership team has been discussing is, how can we get more services through our ESU? Because we don't utilize a lot of services. We're the biggest school in the ESU. Certainly, we are a key contributor to their financial situation. But we're not getting a whole lot of services. Again, not because they don't want to, but I think a lot of it has to do with how they're structured and what they're set up for. And so we felt like we really wanted to have a chance to sit down with them. And so really my meeting yesterday was just a precursory meeting to setting up a meeting actually with our district leadership team and a number of their directors, which we are going to be able to hopefully do on the 14th of July. Start an initial discussion. And really, as we've talked about it, what we're probably thinking about is how can we, over the course of the next year, really develop a partnership that better serves our needs and really, brings the ESU in as a true partner in the education of our students. Had our last meeting with our key communicators group today. We met at the OLC over at the Early Learning Center, and had a nice turnout of people from the community, many of which had never been in the OLC building, and had a really nice chance to show them the building. Ray and Jennifer O'Connor happened to also be, Ray is one of our key communicators, and I'm sure they made a special effort to be there today, and it was really nice to be able to recognize them and their contribution to that. So we are done with key communicators for this year. We're done with our parent group. We finished them up last week, and as Angela and I discussed earlier, we probably need to start planning out next year. So that's kind of where we're at this year. We're in that planning things out. Over the course of the last few weeks, we've done our Leadership Institute where we met with our principals and did some planning for next year. We had our School Improvement Summit where we brought groups from each of the buildings together, and they did planning as far as what their goals in terms of school improvement for each building were going to be for next year. They had a group of secondary educators together today working on learning progressions, and so it just keeps going on. And we had a nice group, really a very good group, sizable group go to conference in Des Moines, and really the focus of that conference is really basically around the PLC process, and that's something that we really have been trying to promote and grow our people's ability to utilize that PLC process to really make instruction better is really the bottom line. How do we work together to make our instruction as effective as possible? So yeah, it's summer, but it's still busy. And that's what I had to report. Any questions anyone would have?
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Okay, item number 9, executive session for the purpose of negotiations, because it is in the best interest of the public to discuss this matter in closed session. At this time, I would entertain a motion to convene into executive session.
I make a motion for the board to convene into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion. Seeing none, you may proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Time is now 6:30. We are going into closed session. Reconvene from executive session.
I make a motion to reconvene from executive session.
Second by Ms. Wilson. Discussion? Seeing none, may proceed to a vote. Motion passes. The time is now 6:42. We are back into regular session. Okay, item number 10.1, approval of any action deemed necessary as a result of executive session. This was, the rationale was to approve the salary and benefits for central office administration for the 2026-2027 school year. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 26-27 salary and benefit package for the central office administrators with a 3.91% overall package increase.
Second by Ms. Albers. Discussion. May proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Notification of upcoming board meetings. The next regular Board of Education meeting will be Thursday, July 9th,